Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You get divorced. You get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Divorce Happens, the podcast where we support you before, during, and after divorce with education, inspiration, and a little bit of laughter. Because as you know, divorce happens and then you start fresh. And we're here today with somebody I'm very, very excited to chat with. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Colette Jane Fehr. I am an author as of now, and a psychotherapist, a speaker, a relationship expert, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you here for so many reasons. One reason is obviously you have an amazing book coming out called The Cost of Quiet. And I feel like that conversation around quiet and holding back from saying what we're really feeling and thinking is, I'm going to just say, probably one of the top reasons that people get divorced. So we would love to hear your thoughts on that before we let you go today. But also, you're one of my favorite people because you are a divorced human. And I like to say that. So I always like to talk to divorced people about what they learned from their divorce, because it is all a learning experience. So you were somebody that took your learnings and really created a whole new life out of it. So I'm very curious, Colette, what were some things that you learned from your divorce?
Yeah, I mean, I took what happened in the divorce and what I suffered through trying to get help during the divorce, which I was not able to really do at that time. And it led to my whole career. It's the reason I went back to grad school. We had gone to marriage counseling and it wasn't effective. I didn't know what I know now. I do a lot of couples therapy. So I've learned a lot. And I thought, this is such important work. Somebody needs to do a better job with this. And I really became passionate about helping women, all people, but women in particular, not make the same mistakes I had. So some of what I learned, of course, was through trial and error and failure, which is often the way we learn best. And the first and foremost thing is the heart of my book, The Cost of Quiet, which is that when we avoid these hard conversations or conflict or saying the thing that we think is going to rock the boat, even when it's really small, we think we're preserving our relationships. We think we're doing what it takes to make things go smoothly, but we're actually doing the number one thing that destroys the relationship because it leads to resentment and disconnection. And we know that emotional disconnection is really the reason that relationships end. Now, there can be all kinds of other issues. And of course, you're only one side of the equation. But if you're not speaking up, you're not honoring yourself, you're not self-advocating, and you're not really giving your relationship a chance to be emotionally connected. So I would say that's my top lesson and the fuel for all of my work and my book.
Yeah. In fact, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about my own marriage, and I just feel like every marriage around me that has transitioned to divorce probably started with that somehow, of just not feeling either safe enough to speak up or not knowing how to speak up. And so much of that obviously comes back to our childhood and what we were conditioned to learn, which you cover all of this beautifully in the book. And the way that you handle it, I think, in the book is really unique because you really look at it from the perspective of, let's take a gentle look at this, not like let's hard boundaries about like learning to speak up for yourself.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so what's another thing that you learned from your divorce?
So, I mean, I think it's really connected to this, but this is a big one. And it's what I see a lot as a therapist, in particular with women. Most of my clients are very emotionally intelligent. They're really astute. They're successful, whether they're working in the home or out of the home. These are capable women, and they all are like, I want to communicate, or I try to say what I feel, but then it doesn't go well. And that's why I can't communicate. So it is the partner's response that's dictating whether or not they speak up. And while this is understandable, because we're all a little afraid of conflict to begin with, and when we don't know how to manage it constructively, then it feels like a threat to our closest bonds. Then, when our partner doesn't respond well, and I like to call it the bad communication report card, which is three D's and an F: distancing, defensiveness, dismissiveness, my favorite. That was a classic in my old relationships. And then fixing, which is your F. Those are the most common responses we get that feel disconnecting and make us just encourage us to shut down or self silence even further. But what I really learned from my divorce is that no matter how your partner responds, you have to speak up, that this is your responsibility, because otherwise avoidance becomes a way of managing somebody else's response. We give all of our power away. And when we reclaim that and we say, okay, if I don't get responded to well, it's not going to feel great, but I'm an adult. I'm no longer a kid stuck in a household where I don't have agency. I'm a grown woman. I do have agency. I have control. I can handle it if my partner's defensive. Doesn't mean it won't hurt or disappoint me, but I can handle it. And I owe it to myself to show up for me and say, hey, when this happened, it really hurt my feelings. And I'm telling you this because I want us to have a good relationship. And the beautiful thing that I wish I could have done differently, but I help people do now, is that when you do this, if you do it repeatedly and you're clear and you're vulnerable and you're assertive, right? Which means being direct and kind. Those ingredients have to go together. When you're doing that over and over and you're really sharing your perspective, your views, your needs, if your partner can't or won't meet you there, which is going to be the case sometimes, right? They haven't done their own work, they're traumatized, they're narcissistic, pick your, all of the above, then at least you have really solid information with which to make empowered choices.
Yeah, as you're talking, I'm thinking about how I, in particular, can use this as I move into dating, right? Because
Yes.
I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I love this reframe that you just said of like, I'm worthy of using my voice and speaking up. Like, that's beautiful, right? And so then for me to say, okay, if I'm worthy in speaking up, if I'm on a date with somebody and I know that I should speak up and they don't respond the way that I like, then I'm donezo with that person, right? So I think that that's a really great boundary to draw for yourself. And I love that reframe. I think it's beautiful.
And that would be my number one thing. Now I'm married and I've been remarried for almost 10 years. But I think in dating after divorce, one of the things I was looking for the most that wasn't at the top of my list when I was younger is emotional responsiveness, willingness to listen. Now, as a therapist, a lot of times women will tell me, oh, I said how I feel, but what they're really saying is, I feel like you don't care. That's our perspective. That's what I call the negative partner story that's generated by this meaning making machine we have up here from our past wounds and the emotions of the moment. When we instead say, hey, when you say that, it really hurts my feelings. And I get a story in my mind that maybe you don't care. And you give a person a chance to be reflective, to be validating, to say, oh, I'm so sorry that hurt your feelings. That's actually not what I meant at all. And I would say when we're dating, that looking for that, if we take the time to share something we've processed and it's really clear and it's about our inner world, and somebody immediately shuts us down, that's a red flag of the biggest order.
Yep. Yep. In fact, it happened to me on my very first date with my ex-husband. And I always laugh because I'm like, if I had only known back then what was really happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and to that point, Olivia, I look back on some times with my ex-husband and he's done a lot of work and grown since then too. We're both in happy second marriages, but I would get upset about something that had nothing to do with him. And he had such an inability to sit with
Yeah.
any kind of emotion that he would immediately tell me I was dramatic, irrational, unreasonable. And, I would get confused and doubt myself when really what I should have understood is that, okay, I'm not doing anything unreasonable. I'm just saying how I feel. This person's not going to meet me in that place.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, and what a revolution for women, right? To, like, say, like, "No, I deserve to have these feelings." I just
Yeah,
think that's so important. This book is really gonna change a lot of lives, and even if you're not with a partner, I think it's I mean, even
I
more
agree.
so important to read this book.
I agree, and in fact, I went to an advanced reader event where Penguin Random House had sent my book to a group of women ahead of time, and they read it, and a lot of them are divorced and dating. And so many of them were like, "Oh my God, I got so much from this." And we had a whole talk about how hard it is to bring things up as you're getting to know somebody. But I think this is an essential thing, even if you start really, really small, to kind of see where people are with their communication. And the key is always that you're really doing your part to not be critical, blaming, or accusatory, and instead to say, these are my feelings. This is my interpretation. I'm not saying it's the truth about you. I'm asking, I'm wondering,
Right.
and what I really need in this moment. And I think that would be another massive lesson I learned, which is that emotional needs, attachment needs, our need to feel valued, seen, heard, accepted, important, like a priority, to be desired. These are normal needs for a relationship. And much of the time, underneath our surface level conflict about the dishes, the diapers, the nonsense that matters. But what's really happening is that we're afraid that these needs aren't being met, that our partner doesn't care, won't hear, we're not good enough. So when we can tune into that level and really get clear about that fear under there and ask for reassurance and comfort, those are our top needs, to know that our partner cares. And when we can say, "Hey, I just need you to reassure me right now that I am important to you," whether we're in an earlier dating phase or deep in a relationship, or it's friendships and coworkers. "Hey, I need to know you see the hard work that I do, that maybe I made a mistake, but you still see me as a valuable friend or employee." When we can tune into that frequency of needs and ask for it with specificity and get reassurance, our relationships vibrate and connect on a whole different level.
Yeah, and I know you and I have even talked about how you use it with your adult daughters. And, I think that as your children transition to grown-ups, it's really important that our relationship is gonna change with them, and this is a wonderful tool for that as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Um
They're both reading the book right
Oh,
now. They
good. Oh,
dedicated
good.
it to that.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it, I love it. So before we let you go, Colette, if somebody's listening to this and they're considering divorce or navigating divorce, as somebody that has been through it and sees lots of people go through it, what would be some words of encouragement that you could leave them with today?
That it is still a crazy time and a roller coaster, and you're gonna have highs and lows, and at times it's gonna feel so empowering and liberating, and other times you're gonna wanna run and hide in a cave and just cry and think it's the end of the world. All of that is normal, and yet you will emerge a new and better self. We are forged in the fire, and I think increasingly divorce is such an opportunity for women. Not that I think marriage is bad. Again, I'm married, but marriage is an old patriarchal proposition that really was designed to keep women small and selfless. And you have no idea how much you're going to flourish when you get through those first highs and lows. You readjust and really rediscover your new identity. I'm the best self I am really because of my divorce and what I learned. And that will happen for all of you.
Oh, I love that so much. Tell us one more time about the book and where we can buy it.
Thank you. It's called The Cost of Quiet: How to Have the Hard Conversations That Create Secure, Lasting Love. It's available wherever books are sold. And of course, on my website at ColetteJaneFehr.com. Colette has one L and two T's. And also follow me on Instagram at Colette Jane Fehr. And I have a great TEDx talk, Secrets of a Couples Therapist, that distills all of these concepts into 10 minutes, and you can just find that by Googling or maybe show notes.
Yep,
It's on
absolutely.
YouTube. Yeah.
Yes, we will have all the links to buy the book in the show notes. I've read it. I love it. I think, and I love that it's about love, right? And relationship. It's not really all relationships, right? It can be any type of relationship in your life. But it really is going to be a game changer for I think other therapists are going to use it, lots of couples, parents, colleagues. So we're
And
just so glad.
thank you. And I just want to say one final thing. The
Yes.
most important relationship you have is with yourself. And really, that's the real underlying thesis of the book is like you don't know what you're going to get from anyone you're dating or married to, but you can learn to nurture yourself more deeply. And like that's the gift, right? Like that's the game changer in life when you learn to show up for you. So I just wanted to say that.
I know, I appreciate that, especially I'm thinking about I'm an elder millennial, I guess, and
Yeah.
I so many of us were raised to kind of just do our own thing. We weren't really asked much about our feelings, or it was like go to your room, go on chat online, and so I think it's really important now that our children are growing up that we really do learn what we want and how to say what we want and to have that inner voice
And
is really important.
self-nurture, right? Like,
Yep.
we don't know how to nurture ourselves, and it's so important. It's such a game changer because women are increasingly choosing not to repartner, and that's a really viable, rich pathway too, especially if you have, great friendships, connection, a full life, and a great connection to yourself.
Ugh, I love it. Thank you so much, Colette.
Thanks for having me.
Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.